is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, presented by SEPTA, a weekly recap of your 2024 Phillies, broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, The Capitol Grill, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Hey everybody, welcome to Chickies and Pete's in Glassboro. This is where I went to undergraduate school. It was then Glassboro State College. I loved it here. And glad to be back here in Glassboro at Chickies and Pete's. And we're doing our baseball show, the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Here's a couple of Phillies, a couple of our radio fans coming in. Steve, good to see you. This is Chris Widger. I'm going to tell you all about him. And those two models back there at that second table, that's Whitney and Kathy. They're our wives, and we're very proud of them. But, you know, Tommy Greene has been driving for 2.5 hours from Cape May Courthouse. Kathy's and my son has a place on the beach in Wildwood Crest, and we don't even take a chance, Chris, on Memorial Day weekend, July 4th, Labor Day. Well, listen, Tommy will be here momentarily. Meanwhile, it is my privilege to introduce as our guest for the first time during the 18 years in which we've done the Bull Session, one of the top baseball players to ever come out of southern New Jersey, Chris Widger. Hey, you can give him a nice round of applause here. Thank you. Now let me tell you, I think something like less than 0.1% of American males ever makes a professional sports team. And of course an even smaller percentage makes a baseball team. Chris Widger did. Not only did he do that, he played 10 years in the major leagues. And he's highly regarded as a coach. But here come the Steinbachers. We have a little following, Chris, of maybe 12 to 24 to come to all of our shows. Whatever Chickies and Pete's, where we're doing the show, they come. And that's Sean and Tara Steinbacher. This is Chris Widger, and we're just starting to talk about Chris and his background. So, folks, listen, and I think you're going to get an appreciation of the great talent that we have tonight as our guest. Now, Chris grew up a Phillies fan in Pennsville, New Jersey. He was, his two favorite players were Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton. And that's pretty good company, Chris. And by the way, speaking of Pennsville, New Jersey, my mom is from Penns Grove, New Jersey, right next door. My grandfather, William Undy, was the chief electrician at DuPont's, and some of Chris's family, I think we were talking about, worked at DuPont's. Now, Chris played baseball at Pennsville High School for 4 years, and while he was there, Pennsville, which is a very small high school. Do you remember Norm Wildman Willie? Was he a coach or?
Mr. Willie was my driver's ed teacher. So I remember watching Eagles games, and you'd see he still worked the tunnel where the players came out for years and years, and we didn't even know what he did in his NFL career until later. We didn't know who he was.
He had 18 sacks, Chris, in one game. I did the PA for the Eagles for 29 years, and my brother worked there as a spotter, and my son Darren. Anyway, so Chris goes to Pennsville High School, helps them reach a state championship game. And here comes Tommy Greene. Tommy, come right in here and meet Chris Widger. And Tom, I'm just giving a little bit of background on Chris, and then I'm going to introduce one of the 12 pitchers in Phillies history in 142 years who has thrown a no-hitter in the big leagues. How about that? Against Montreal.
Against your old boys.
Yeah.
I was noticing, I said, oh my, this might be interesting.
So let me give you a little more background on Chris. Played at Pennsville 1986 to 1989. He played a couple of positions, became a catcher as a senior. This show is called The Bull Session in honor of Greg Luzinski. As a senior, Chris played against freshman catcher Ryan Luzinski of Holy Cross High School in Delran. So there's a little connection there. Tommy, we were saying...
The bull size runs in the family, too.
Yeah.
It does, and
there's some big boys, man.
I remember he was the Bull was the head coach at the time. And I remember at the time they had this commercial. It used to be, it was a golfing commercial where he hit the ball, and they said, "Did you hit the ball to China?" So we had seen the commercial that the Bull was doing, and then we got to meet him in person, which was pretty cool for a high school kid.
Now he helped. He brought Pennsville to the state championship game. I don't believe you won that, Chris.
No, we didn't.
From our conversation. Who was your opponent in that game?
And we talked about that too, and I actually tried to research it, and I couldn't figure it out.
Well, that's all right.
We're getting old. That just means we're getting old, Chris.
You know what, though, Tommy? He did lead his team to the Diamond Classic Championship. Now, the Diamond Classic, folks, if you don't know about it, you take the top teams all throughout South Jersey. Best in the Colonial Conference, Olympic Conference, all the conferences.
Yeah, that's big.
Tri-Cape, I was, kind of some of the same the groups that play have teams in the Carpenter Cup every year.
Okay.
So you were in that too.
Yeah, that was a big deal for our high school because it's no groups there. It's just the top in South Jersey, and so you get to play against Group 4, Group 5 schools, even as a Group 1 or Group 2.
Right. Bishop Eustace, do you recall some of the teams or coaches, players that you went up against in the Diamond Classic?
Well, I
Chris
do
Widger.
because J.J. Piccolo, who was my boss for a while in Kansas City, we ended up going to George Mason. He went in after I did, but he was the All-State catcher my senior year, and he was a Cherry Hill West guy. He's now the GM for the Kansas City Royals. He always reminds me that he had a home run off of me in the first game we played there. But I did get the win. I was pitching that game. And then,
so you did it all then, huh?
I pitched. I started 2 games.
Okay.
One was the first game in the Diamond Classic, and the other was the second game in the Diamond Classic.
Okay.
My junior year.
You did it all, man.
And then if you remember Glenn Foley.
Yes.
Yeah, Glenn Foley hit a home run against me in the next one, Cherry Hill East.
Yeah.
But we somehow got that win.
Well, if you pitch, you're going to give it up. It don't matter sooner or later.
And I did. I gave it up, but we got the win somehow.
Glenn Foley, New York Jets quarterback?
Yeah, he was at Cherry Hill East.
Yeah. Sure.
So you grew up, I mean, I know I missed the first part of it. You grew up not too far from here?
I'm about 35 minutes or so from here.
A little bit north or?
South.
Oh, south. Oh,
Yeah,
so
I'm
you're
right
southern, huh?
Right on the Delaware border.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. I mean, sort of like me. I grew up in southeastern North Carolina a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit different. You know, you southern Jersey. You're sort of a good old boy a little bit that way, a little bit. That's the way I look at it.
It's country. It's country.
That's the way I look at it.
After a very successful high school career at Pennsville, Chris went to George Mason University. And he played there from 1990 to 1992. And after your junior year, you were drafted by Seattle in the 3rd round. That's pretty good. Now,
I got a question for you on that. Do you know a guy by the name of Patrick Lennon?
Oh, I played against Patrick Lennon in AAA.
I did, because he was the first-round draft pick with Seattle in 1986 out of my high school. I didn't know if he was still maybe part of Seattle's organization or not. I don't know if you remember him or not.
No, I played against him,
Okay,
though, because
he's
I
a big
can
old
remember
boy.
how big he was when he'd walk up to the plate.
Yes, he got like.
I can't remember if he was with the Angels or the A's or somebody.
I think
but
he was with the A's.
I saw him in AAA.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Now, with Seattle, he played with Seattle in 1995 and 1996. He was then, Tom, traded to the Montreal Expos for Jeff Facero.
How about
Pretty
that?
good left-handed pitcher, relief pitcher,
Jeff
wasn't
could
he?
pitch, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, in 1998, with the Montreal Expos, Chris Widger banged 15 home runs. In fact, in his 4 years with Montreal, you had 15 home runs, 14, I think 13, and 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was one of those things where Montreal at the time, as Tommy knows, once you got good enough or started to request a little bit more money, they usually got rid of you because they just couldn't handle the market the way it was in Canada.
That's the Miami of now.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, but I tell you what, how'd you love the city up there?
The best city I've ever been
Oh,
to.
it was
as
awesome,
far as,
wasn't it? It was awesome. I really enjoyed going in there. I think that was a good advantage for y'all guys, you know, because I know they housed us, you know, in the hotel that was right beside a great establishment up there. You could stay there all night.
There's a reason why we lost 90 games every year but played 500 at home.
You know, Kathy and I are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. My wife, Kathy, who's sitting with Whitney Widger. And we are going to Montreal and Quebec City.
It's a wonderful city.
So we're going up there July 16th to the 23rd. We always have to plan around the field schedule, Chris and Tommy. So we're going up there. In 1997, Pedro Martinez, Tommy, wins the Cy Young Award. Here's one of his catchers.
I know. How fun was that behind the dish catching that?
I tell you what, as being a young guy, and you get some guys in the minor leagues, you know, they're kind of all over the place. And Pedro Martinez and my son asked me all the time, what was it like? And I said, number one, people don't realize when he threw up and in, it was on purpose.
Oh, God,
It
yeah.
wasn't an accident.
Oh, I know.
And number two is Darren Fletcher was we platooned that year, but he got Pedro most of the time, and Darren went on a DL, and I ended up catching him for a few in a row. And I remember it was sometime before the All-Star break, and Pedro was down in the bullpen right before the game starts, and he gives me like a cutter motion. I'm like,
What's
you
that?
don't throw a cutter, like a fastball, curveball, changeup, and they're all devastating. He said, I just want to work on something to throw into a lefty. And he started throwing it in the game. Just out of,
That's so him, though.
That's how good he was.
Yeah. And guess your catcher, I mean, your other partner and catcher, he caught my no-hitter there.
Did he really?
Darren did, yep.
Oh, Fletcher.
Yeah,
Fletcher
he's
was
an
awesome.
ex-Philly,
Fletcher was a good
right.
dude.
He was a good dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I just touched base with him the other day. It was on the Messenger. Yeah, and we kind of come. I got to give him a call. Somehow we got to get together. I haven't talked to him and seen him in forever.
I haven't either, and I learned a lot from
What
him.
a good
though.
dude.
Yeah.
What a good guy.
A good person.
Yes,
exactly.
he is.
Yes, he was.
We're up to 2002, and then Chris Widger becomes a New York Yankee. What was it like, Chris, playing in Yankee Stadium? That's the dream of a lot of young ball players growing up.
For an old country boy going up there like me going up there.
You know,
I wanna know that.
it's something that you play in different cities. Seattle was also New York is different. It just I don't know what it is. I guess it would be like playing for Montreal in hockey. It's just it's a different feel when you walk into old Yankee Stadium and when you're walking through the locker room or when you go out and you see the monuments out in the outfield.
That's something I never did. I never got the chance to do it. I mean, my career basically in the big leagues was over. I was a little bit up in 97 was my last year, but I got hurt, and that was the first year of the interleague.
Right.
So I never got the chance. So we didn't play him in the World Series. So
I mean, you come in as a visitor there, and it's unbelievable anyway when you're just seeing what's there. We were there in the playoffs in '95, and there's 60,000 people in the stands, and that's one thing. But when you walk in and you're a Yankee and you put that uniform on, I was only there half a year. I mean, it wasn't like I was anything. I'm playing once a week, but it's a different feeling. The locker room, the feel is different. With Joe Torre being your manager, it's just different.
the
and
babe,
it's hard to explain.
The babe. I mean, it's just
When you think about who's been there and you see that outfield wall, that concrete that's the original wall that's 40 feet behind the wall that's there now.
How short is right field?
It looks even shorter than what the numbers
I've
say.
never been inside Boston either with the Green Monster. I've never been inside and look at it from that point of view. I've been by both of them, but on the outside, but I've never been inside.
It just makes the play different.
Your introduction is coming up in the second segment of tonight's show, and we're going to finish your intro. But see, Chris, we try to take our time to explain, what you did to get to the big leagues, which is significant. Same with him. And, every week when Tommy's on, we talk about the no-hitter. What an accomplishment. Most people can't throw a no-hitter in Little League or Pony League or Babe Ruth League.
I just had an anniversary of it, too. The 23rd of May was 33 years ago. How about that? Now I feel old.
Number 49, Tommy Greene. We'll be back with the second segment. More with Tommy Greene and Chris Widger and me, Dan Baker, after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Relax and enjoy a cocktail from our seasonal cocktail menu. Try one of our delicious, perfectly blended options like strawberry lemonade. How about a raspberry sangria, blend of Pinot Grigio, raspberry liqueur, and bubbly lemon lime soda? Or maybe a Hendrick's Gimlet or a Patron Tropical Mojito is more your style. Enjoy one of these or many others from our Chicky and Pete's sensational seasonal cocktail selection. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
Hi, Paul Muller from Team Toyota of Langhorne. If you've been waiting to buy your next pre-owned vehicle due to surging used car prices, then we have some great news for you. With over 45 used cars under $20,000, we have something for every budget. Plus, with our MVP pricing guarantee, warranty forever, and free maintenance for 1 year, you can rest assured that you're getting a reliable used car at a great price. Visit us in Langhorne on Route 1 or shop online at teamlanghorne.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
No hit, Tommy Greene. And our special guest, 10-year Major League catcher, Chris Widger.
That's what I wanted, that 10 years, man. I didn't quite get it.
I ended up like 20 days short.
You're
I'm sure I had parts 8 years, so I was like...
That's a long time. That's 8 years.
I battled my shoulder for years. I was trying. I told them I'd sweep the dugout if they keep me up.
I'm waiting for my 4th shoulder surgery now. So yeah, I've already been through 3, and I got to get the 4th. I think it's going to be a replacement.
Well, let's
I'm finally
see.
just going to say the heck with it.
Chris, we got up to the 2002 season when you were with the New York Yankees. In 2003, you were with the St. Louis Cardinals. What sticks out in your mind about your time with St. Louis?
Watching Albert Pujols hit.
Wow.
I mean,
that's another one. Hey, that's part of the business. It's like me. I pitch once every 5th day. The other 4, I'm watching the best of business and everybody in the game play. It's unbelievable to watch.
Well, I was on a starter's rotation, too. I was about once every 5 days when I was playing.
You were with me. We're like the same. Yeah.
But watching him hit, just special. I think he won the batting title that year.
I tell you, you have you and Tom. Anybody who's been able to make the big leagues, let alone accomplish what you guys have. You know, World Series championship, Tom, in 2005 with the White Sox.
Yes.
After.
That's amazing just to be a part of stuff like that. You know, it's what you play for.
Tommy, in 2004, he takes the first half of the year off. Then he goes to the Camden River Sharks and tears up the Atlantic League, independent.
Yeah.
You know, not
I
a
coach there. I coached in the Northern League.
He hits like 16 home runs in just 200 at bats, which leads to a tryout with the White Sox the next year, 2005, and he was with the White Sox in 2006 as well. But the White Sox win the World Series in 2005.
Yeah, it was. I think all the stars aligned. You know, I was thinking about being done. I was never thought that winning a World Series was, you know, that big a deal. Like, I was happy. I was from a small town in South Jersey, happy to make the big leagues. Like, everything aligned that year.
It's amazing how the stars align. I mean, being at the right place at the right time, and you know that type. It does. It's true.
It really did. I mean,
having somebody that likes you.
Well, somebody that'll take a chance on somebody that missed the whole year.
I know me in the organization, somebody that likes you. If you go about your business the right way, you don't give them a reason. You know.
Well, the year before I got released the last day of spring training with in 04 with the Cardinals. I had come back. I was supposed to be the backup. They went a different direction, and so I found myself being kind of like a little bit bitter. You know, and I didn't want to be that guy in a AAA clubhouse somewhere, so I went home, played softball for 2 months or so, didn't do anything, and then decided, you know what? Wayne Krenchicki was the manager, another ex-White Expo. Was the manager, said, why don't you come up and play a little bit? I played for 2.5 months, and then I decided, what the heck, I'll try one more year playing.
I sort of did the same thing, but I was battling my shoulder, and, I mean, I was trying to see if I could relieve a little bit and see if I could get it. I was playing I was playing in the 30-over league back home, and it was a pretty good league, but it was, you know, I got a chance to play too. I missed playing. You know, I mean, got a chance to swing the bat, an aluminum bat. I mean, I hit pretty decent. That's one year I had 100 ABs in the big leagues and hit 270. I'm all right. I took pride in it.
That's better than I ever did. So,
I mean, but I did sort of the same thing. One of the coaches in the independent ball called me. He says, I want you to come play for me. I said, man, my arm's sorry. I can't play. He says, no, I want you to come play for me. I want you to hit, but I got a couple pitchers you might hit. I think you'd be good at this, you know, as far as. And so I said, but I want you to DH for me, maybe play a little outfield. He says, you've always been able to swing the bat. I played with him. He was, you know, Jim Beecham's son, Cash Beecham, with the Braves. And so I went up there, and it was probably the best thing. I really enjoyed it. I got a chance to coach and help. I felt like I was helping some guys, you know what I mean? But, I mean, I enjoyed the hitting part of it until I got drilled in the ear. I'll show you. I'll tell you about that later. You know, but it was good. It was good. It was a wake-up call, but, hey.
You know, Tommy, I was telling Chris when we were talking on the phone, I called him from Houston yesterday to do my homework. We were down visiting our daughter.
Oh, that's right. You told me you were out there.
And our grandson,
down there.
Our grandson turned 4 on Saturday, May 25th, and I had a chance to talk previously with Chris, but I wanted to get some more stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think this information
you can turn me and him loose, and you won't have to say nothing. You know that, right?
I know. It's priceless. But I don't want either of you to come on without properly being recognized for what you've done.
Well, he's getting ready to make me feel young again, and I like that.
You're right. I am getting ready. Before I do, Tom, and I want to tell you a little bit more about my co-host, Tommy Greene, who has a great story as well. When Chris and I were talking, I said, I played a lot of independent baseball.
Yeah.
Now, watching at home tonight, Tommy and Chris, is a good friend. I don't know how well you know him, Tom, but I know you've met him. Dave Hitchner with the Bridgeton Invitational.
Yeah.
So Chris, he said, did you play? I did not. So I think you had to
Dave.
be really good.
I met him a long time ago when I first came up. Yeah.
Well, anyway, the Bridgeton Invitational, Greg played in there.
Yeah.
A lot of big league guys played there, Chris.
Yeah.
And what do you remember about the Bridgeton Invitational?
It used to be a big deal, and it was because we played in a county league around where we were, Bridgeton, and there was a place called Penton in South Jersey. Pennsville had a team, and they would all combine to make one team to go there because you had some pretty good players coming from other places.
That's so good. I mean, the baseball player, I love the way they go about it. And what we did, we had Legion ball, and that was huge in my area. I mean, during the summers and stuff, we didn't have AAU teams or the big, because it wasn't that big of an area like up here. You had so many people, But we got involved in Legion ball, and that's what we were. That was the big thing. I mean, because we're close to the same age. I'm a little bit older than you, probably. You're 3? Maybe?
53, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 57. Yep. So I'm just. I mean, I didn't have that AAU. We didn't have that. I know what we didn't.
We didn't either.
So we didn't to get out there and go and travel and do that. We couldn't afford it anyway. So, I mean, it's good to see that. I like talking ball. That how you came up a little bit. It's good because you get exposure. You get to play against such good talent. And there's a lot of talent.
I came home from college after my freshman year, and I was playing our county league team. And there were some older guys. There were some guys that were in their mid-20s that were still playing, but really good high school players. A bunch of them played at college, University of Delaware, kind of stuff. But I don't know if you remember Greg Burlingame, a name from South Jersey. Big, tall left-hander. Ended up having problems. His brother Dennis was a first-rounder back in the day.
That's the name I remember.
Yeah, so Greg was a taller version of Dennis,
okay, gotcha.
But a left-hander, about 6'6". He pitched on our team, and we went to the Bridgeton tournament, and we didn't win. There was good teams, but I remember those. Those are fun times of baseball.
It's amazing how many, and over the years, of how many people you see that have the talent. I mean, I feel like we're the lucky ones. I mean, we had talent and we worked at it too, but there were some guys that was like, how did they not, go, or why did they quit or give it up, type thing, because I saw some great athletes do that.
Chris, I wanted to speaking of Burlingame, so I was going through Chris Widger's other pages on baseballreference.com, and it had all the minor league teams that you played for in addition to the major league. I'm not saying that in any way to be unkind.
You've seen the rural north eastern side or everywhere, man?
Everywhere.
There was it Burlington? There was a city that sounds like Burlingame.
North Carolina.
Burlington, North Carolina.
I know where that's at.
That was my first affiliated managing job.
Okay.
So, and I'll never forget it either.
They love some baseball down there.
I had some special people on that team, too. I mean, Vinny Pasquantino is the first baseman in Kansas City right now. He had just gotten drafted.
He can hit, dude.
It was his first year. Michael Massey was my second baseman, and Michael Garcia was my shortstop. That was 3/4 of my infield, who's now up in Kansas City, which is
awesome.
pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Tommy, and not only did he play for the Camden River Sharks, he managed them. And our guest from last week, Mike Costanzo.
Okay.
Mike might be watching or listening tonight. He now has like the exclusive rights for Briganti wines out of Italy, and he has a deal with the Phillies. That's the wine that's poured at Citizens Bank Park.
I got to get on your coattails then, Dan. We got to go see the guy again.
But he's also my insurance guy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he has been. He got his insurance license when he played for me in Camden his last year of playing. He had knee problems, and he would be on the couch in our clubhouse finishing his classes, and then being on the phone. He said, I'll be out there as soon as I can. I'm trying to sign these people up. That's when he first started his business, and he's very, very successful now.
Well,
that's awesome.
Chris and Tommy on last week's show, near the very end of the show, we try to promote the next show and where it's going to be and who our guest is going to be. So I'm proudly announcing that Chris Widger is going to join Tommy Greene and me this week in Glassboro. And Mike Costanzo says, he was my manager in 2014 or 15 with the Camden River. So what happened there? What kind of a ball player did you find Mike Costanzo to be?
Well, I knew what kind of ball player he was just from talking to people. Like, he was a hard-nosed, kind of professional, old school kind of thing.
Right up our alley.
Unfortunately for him, he was at the end of his career, and he really had some knee problems. I mean, he hit for us. He could have very well played for 2 or 3 or 4 more years. but he was struggling to get through the season. He was waiting to have surgery on his knee, and
You
unfortunately,
get like that, it's no fun.
He was struggling. He really was.
That's no fun when it's like that.
Yeah. We're halfway through the show.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten to the Tommy Greene
It's
introduction.
okay. It's all. Hey, this is cool.
Nor have we got. It was well worth it. How about that 2 segments of the show trying to tell you about all the accomplishments of Chris Widger? Well, when we come back, we're going to tell you a little bit more about Tommy Greene. You've heard it before. You're going to hear it again. You have to hear it. And then we're going to talk about the 2024 Philadelphia Phillies, who, by the way, are coming up right after our show.
Yep.
The Phillies play the San Francisco Giants out in the Bay Area, and you'll be able to hear it on WBCB, 1490 AM and 107.3 FM, following the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. That's all courtesy of Chris Ermer, our producer. Chris, we'll come back with the second half of tonight's show. Tommy Greene, Chris Widger,
Hi, it's
Dan
Pete from
Baker.
Chicky and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour with unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies meaty and tender wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., only at Chickies and Pete's.
Hi, Paul Muller from Team Toyota of Langhorne. If you've been waiting to buy your next pre-owned vehicle due to surging used car prices, then we have some great news for you. With over 45 used cars under $20,000, we have something for every budget. Plus, with our MVP pricing guarantee, warranty forever, and free maintenance for 1 year, you can rest assured that you're getting a reliable used car at a great price. Visit us in Langhorne on Route 1 or shop online at teamlanghorne.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Bringing in top talent is as easy as 1, 2, Key. SEPTA Key Advantage is a unique and valuable transit benefit program that gives your employees all-day, everyday access to the entire SEPTA system. That means your staff can get into the office, over to a meeting, and out for the night, seamlessly and affordably, all thanks to you. Learn how easy it is to customize a SEPTA Key Advantage program for your team at SEPTA.org/partner programs. That's SEPTA.org/partner programs.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Chickies and Pete's in Glassboro. Must be one of our relatives over there. That was a nice round of applause. Thank you. And we spent most of the first half of the show telling you about the terrific career of Pennsville, New Jersey's Chris Widger. Now, Chris, every week we also get into our co-host background. Tommy Greene played, the length of his career was similar to yours, 1989 to 1997.
Yeah.
Of course, it's highlighted by his helping lead the Phillies to the 1993 National League Championship.
Back in the day.
16-4, and that was also the same year that Curt Schilling won 16 games.
Yeah.
But Curt Schilling had a few more losses that year.
Yeah, I think he was 16-8, right? Something like that. I'm pretty sure. Something like that. I missed a month where I pulled a groin, and it cost me a chance to win in 20. I was like, man.
Well, in 1993, to embellish that, Tommy's 16-4 included 200 innings pitched, a 3.42 earned run average, and 167 strikeouts. But something that a Tommy Greene introduction should never be done without is a mention of the no-hitter that he threw against the Montreal Expos, Chris, May 23rd. Today's May 27th.
Yep.
So it's almost the exact date,
Yep.
the anniversary of the Tommy Greene no-hitter against the Montreal Expos. Whiteville zone, Tommy Greene. Tommy, it never gets old, does it?
No, it doesn't, especially when you say it, Dan. It makes me feel younger.
Oh.
That voice of yours, it makes me feel like I'm being introduced to the game again.
Number 49.
There it is.
Tommy Greene.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man.
By the way, Tommy pitched 6 years with the Phillies, 1990 to 1995. He also pitched a year and a half with Atlanta and closed with a half year with Houston.
Yeah, with Houston.
Speaking
I was
of
with
Houston.
Houston, I was with them.
Tommy, what are your recollections about your time with Houston?
I'll tell you, I mean, they had a lot of talent there. I know that. I got the chance to play with Billy Wagner and Shane Reynolds and Mike Hampton, and obviously Bagwell and Biggio. And I miss Caminiti. He was already gone, I think. Yeah, but they had a good squad, and I mean, and they were in line. That's how I got the opportunity to come with it, even though I was battling my shoulder. I mean, I found a way to pitch every fifth day. I don't know how I did it. I didn't touch a ball in between my starts. I mean, but I found a way. I won. I mean, I pitched well, and they wanted Shane Reynolds went down. He got hurt, and they wanted somebody that had some experience, I guess, and I was pitching well, I was pitching 7 innings every time I went out. Somehow, there's smoke and mirrors, whatever it took, but that's how I got my opportunity with them, and then I ended up getting hurt again. So,
and I also wanted Tommy to embellish your season stats for 1991, 91 and 93.
Yeah, they were my good years.
Tommy's great years, and he was 13-7, Chris, in 91. Over 200 innings pitched for the year.
Yeah.
207 and 2/3.
I started out in the pen. Started out in the bullpen the first month. Well, really, month and a half. I was the lone guy, and we had a young staff, and I ended up having more innings than the starters, every starter except for Terry Mulholland after the first month and a half of the season. It shows you how we did. I mean, I was in a lot of ball games early, and then I got the opportunity to start. And one of my first starts with them, I threw the no-hitter.
Yes.
And then 5 days later, me and Fletch again. This is what I'm probably proud of. Obviously, I'm proud of the no-hitter, but 5 days later, I faced Montreal again in Philly, my next start. I didn't walk nobody. I walked 7 in the no-hitter. I didn't give up a hit, right? They can't swing at it. You don't give up a hit. I didn't walk nobody, and threw a 3-hit shutout. Give up 2 hits in the first, 1 in the sixth, and I felt was a. I heard a little chirping from their side. We walked me twice, whatever year, but I feel like it's a validation game. I was like, they had another look at me,
Two
and
starts
I executed
back-to-back
starts. They had another, and I took pride in that. I took pride in that. So,
Tommy, I don't think I've ever all the shows that we've done together.
Yeah,
that is the most you've ever embellished.
Yeah.
Of that second
I'm proud.
start.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you went into it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm so people's been asking me about it since the no-hitter anniversary of it was last week, and and people talk about it. That game's important. But what made it more important to me was that the following game I pitched against the same team again. They had a good squad, man. They had the Shields, Grissom, Walker, Galarraga, all those guys. And I mean, they had a good young crew, and with a mix of some veterans in there. I mean, it was Tim Wallach. Yeah.
Well, Tommy and Chris, when we have a good show, it's a good show because our producer, Chris Ermer,
That's
wants
the man
to ask
right
you
there.
a question. Here he is right here, Chris and Tommy. Chris,
Oh, hey.
What's your question?
Thank you, Dan. Guys, thanks so much for being here tonight. All right, it seems like Rob Thompson is allowing his starters to go a little bit deeper into games, and I wanted to get both of your perspective on that. Phillies having great success right now. Is there going to be another shoe that's going to drop when the starters get a little bit fatigued later in the season? Is that any concern for you guys, or when you pitch more, do you just get stronger?
I'll just say this from a managing perspective.
And you've got to see it from the catching side, too.
Yeah,
that's what's so good about it.
Well, it's funny. We look at you with 207 innings and 200, and you don't see that anymore. You might see a handful of guys even get to 200. Now, before, if you didn't get to 200, you either weren't healthy enough.
And that's before the playoffs.
I love it. I mean, Rob Thompson, I don't know him well. He was a minor league coordinator when I was with the Yankees, and I started the year in AAA that year.
He's my age. I mean, he might be a year older, but, I mean, basically he could be a year younger. I don't know. I mean, but I know he's close, so he's
I mean, I know that they have to use the numbers, but at some point, you got to see what your starters can do, and the more you do that, because playoff baseball, your seventh, eighth, ninth inning guys in the bullpen are even bigger than a regular season. And the less they have to pitch the regular season, it's more important for them to be healthy at the end of the year. The starters are already built up. Those guys are stronger anyway. They can go longer. They're not throwing, max effort every single pitch all the time. And so I think it's awesome, and I love to see it personally.
There's no question in my mind, Chris. You've heard me talk about it. I mean, there's no pitcher. I know the way I trained about my business, and I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys do the same thing. We're going out there. I want to go 9. I don't want to. When the guy comes out of the dugout, most of the time I didn't want him to come out of there to get me. But it was pretty much told at spring training, if I come out of the dugout, Vergosi, the manager, says, give me the ball. It's not the come see how you're feeling type thing. When I come, he said, the pitcher coach would do that. But that type thing, and let me know. But I'm a firm believer of, the third time through the lineup, I don't buy into that. I know I was a different type of cat. I got better as I went. And if I execute, if your pitcher executes, there's no reason why he can't go 3 times in the lineup.
But that's a lost start. That's a lost start. Today's game, it's not.
I know it's not about that, but I know that's. That's the difference, though.
No, but I agree with you, and I wish it was more like that, because the way it goes now, it's about spin rates and your vert and your horizontal movement and
we had words. We had words. They got numbers and percentages for that stuff.
Correct. So now it's about throwing as hard as you can and just stuff instead of making pitches.
Yeah.
And I get in arguments with people all the time. Would Greg Maddux be as good today as he was then? I think he'd be better because he could pitch the holes so good. I mean, he could paint wherever he wanted to throw.
Look what Ranger's been doing. Ranger was command was off yesterday, and you see some of the things that happen. With it, but I mean, you don't see Ranger do that often, but we're human, we're not robots, I mean, things happen. You got to tip your hat sometime, to people, But Greg Maddux, there's no question in my mind, he can pitch in any era. I mean, because the way he changes speeds, the way he locates, the way he pitches inside off the plate, and you have to do that sometimes. Your stuff plays up. You can throw 90, but if you do what you need to do, that 90 plays up. Because they see if you hit with your off-speed pitches, they're seeing it. That 90 plays up. And I mean it's all about a little bit different thing. Does your ball do something different when it hits the dirt on the way to home plate? You see some guys, you called him, you can see him from second base. Then you got a guy, you don't pick him up to he's out front. And those are the guys that give you trouble. And you might not throw as hard as the guy in the back.
That's all stuff that analytics can't quantify, and that's why for Robbie and the job that he has to do, and I guarantee you behind the scenes that there's an analytics department that's saying there's no way you can let them go that far, and they're going to get hurt or their stuff's not good enough, so the pressure on today's manager is probably 100 times more than in the past.
I have to agree with that. I mean, and it was like Jim Vergosi always told. I don't need some kind of thing to tell me what my eyes tell me about when to take you out of a ball game. My eyes tell me that. I see the way I know you. As it goes. I mean, sometimes you got to have a feeling, or you got to go by your gut. Sometimes with guys, You got to know your team. You got to know the guys on it. That's what makes managing. I mean, you've done it, so you know about that. You got to feel. You see a guy when he starts to, he might struggle the first 2-3 innings a little bit, he's battling it, and all of a sudden he kind of gets that.
And he gets better as the game goes on. But they're going to tell you that when they get a certain pitch, that you get certain pitch count, you got to take him out.
But you're gonna. But I mean, I'm talking like us. I'm going to give him that opportunity to go through it because he's earned it. And that's how you get better as a pitcher, having to go through those struggles to do that. Then you know what type of guy you got when it comes down to it at the end. And that's what they're missing on some of the young guys these days, I think.
Well, we have to
in the minor leagues, especially.
We have to go to our third and final commercial break. See how quickly it moves?
It does. It does.
We start getting in the ball now. Yeah. We game on.
And when we come back, I want to find out more, Chris, about your World Series championship experience.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And Tommy's helping take the Phillies to the World Series in 1993. And what you guys think of the Phillies' chances this year to get to the World Series. We'll discuss that on the final segment of tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session.
Hey, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Dive into our delectable seasonal seafood specials, including our Chickies and Pete's Sticky Lobster Tacos, succulent Brazilian tail meat in a spicy sauce, or try our Chicky and Pete's Shrimp Po' Boy, our signature fried shrimp, lettuce, roasted tomato, and a cherry pepper sauce, served on a fresh baguette. Plus, don't forget our Chicky and Pete's buy one, get one sweet and tasty snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday, only at Chickies and Pete's.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off.
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car. Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus.
I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Welcome back. We're at Chickies and Pete's in Glassboro. And incidentally, next Monday, June 3rd, Larry Bowa, World Series champion with the Phillies in 1980. Great shortstop. He and Jimmy Rollins, probably the best shortstops in Phillies history. 1-2. And Larry will be our guest. And pinch hitting for Tommy Greene and Gary Matthews and Mickey Morandini will be Brandon Duckworth.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
That's next Monday, June 3rd, Chris, 12 noon at Chickies and Pete's at 15th and Packer.
Make sure you tell him I said hello. It's good seeing Brandon, man. Brandon's awesome people.
And he's now a Yankee scout.
Yankee scout. He's been doing it for years and years. He's been a long time.
Chris, what was it like when you won the World Series, and what was it that helped the White Sox get over the top that year?
A good clubhouse. For me, every good team I've ever played on, whether it was a 95 team we went to the playoffs in Seattle in my first year, or the 96 team, or 2000 in Seattle, 2001, and then 2000, the clubhouse. Because you're always going to go through certain stretches. You're going to lose 5 out of 7. You're going to lose 4 or 5 in a row. But if you have a bad clubhouse or you have guys that don't like to be together, then that 4 or 5 in a row turns into 7 out of 10 and 10 out of 14, and it just doesn't work. I've never been on a good team that had a bad clubhouse.
It's good to hear that, isn't it? Because that was the key to us. We had for years. We had the core. That core group was there. I was fortunate enough to be when I got traded over in '90, and then through '95, the core was there. You know, when Darren Dalton and Dykstra and Kruk. You know, the clubhouse was the big thing. And I don't know if you, as far as the leader, if y'all had one, we had the ultimate one with Darren. He was I think the manager, Fergosi and them, and the coaching staff had the easiest job in baseball because nothing got by us. They didn't ever have to deal with anything. It was taken care of before it got out of hand or whatever it was. Because you're always going to have something that's kind of going on. You know, it's got to get nipped in the bud. You know about it.
If your manager has to do it, then it's too late.
Yeah,
usually.
It's too late.
It's got to be from somewhere in the clubhouse. Somebody's out of line. Somebody does something. If it's taken care of by one of your guys, it doesn't have to be your best player.
Yeah.
But it has to be somebody that's respected enough to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Who is the leader on the 2005 White Sox World Series champions, Chris?
Konerko was. Him and Mark Burley. Konerko didn't have to say much either. Konerko, the way he handled the game, if he said something, then you listen because he didn't talk a whole lot.
Hutton.
Burley was a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more kind of like this is what we got to do, but at the same time we had fun. We had fun together. We liked to be together. We hung out together. We hung out together on the road. Not so much at home when you're in a big city and all that stuff, but we liked to be together. And all the stars aligned. I mean, it's just a bunch of guys that just like to play.
I know Darren, all Darren had to do to me was look at me. You know, I mean, I was young back then, you know, and him being my battery mate, I mean, we had a relationship, you know, we got to know each other pretty good. And sometimes he'd just look at me. I knew, you know, you kind of got it, you know. And so it's good to have that type of, you know, the guy in the clubhouse. They don't have to say something sometimes, you know. I mean, you just know.
Well, you two.
But we had a core group of guys, though, and we've kind of hit on this before with Mariano Duncan. I can't give him enough credit. That dude's a winner. How many World Series teams and rings that he's got? You know, with Cincinnati and the Yankees and stuff, and you know, he's with L.A. winning teams, and that guy was on winners. He knew, and he knew how to play the game. He wanted you to play the game like him and wanted it as bad as he did, and it rubbed off. You know, but he loved to have fun. And so, I mean, it's nothing like having that type of clubhouse too. Have fun, but when it comes time, it goes ding ding. They went about their business the right way.
Chris, what do you think, and I'm going to get Tommy's opinion on this too, the 2024 Phillies, who do you see as their leader, and what do you think their chances are of getting to the World Series?
Well, so me being out of town, still managing in northern New Jersey right now, I don't see them as much as I do as when I live here because I'm 5 or 6 days a week. I'm up north. I don't see it as much. So Tommy can probably speak on to the leader in the clubhouse, that kind of stuff, more than I can. All I can say is just from knowing Tommy in the past, knowing what kind of person he was, seeing the way he ran the minor leagues with the Yankees, I know that he's your leader type of manager. And he's going to do things the right way, and they're going to play the game the right way. So as far as the in-locker room stuff, Tommy's going to have a better.
Yeah, I haven't been in the locker room, but I'd have to think just personality-wise. I mean, you got your big dog that's there with Harper, but I think the guy that has a lot of input and a lot of just about is Schwarber. I think he's got a lot of input with the young guys. He's been around a little bit and played on many teams. He's been not just one organization, but you know he's been around a little bit. So that holds water a little bit, and he's had success. You know, I mean, he doesn't hit for average, but he's had success in other ways. You know, to do the right things. You know, and show them how to go about your business, and that's a thing that you have, and that you know that respect kind of comes if the young ones see guys doing the right things. That's what they tend to gravitate to. So.
Tommy and Chris, Kyle Schwarber came back from a devastating knee injury to help lead the Cubs to the 2016 World Series.
Yes, he did. Yeah, but did he catch a little bit too at one time?
Back in the day, I think he did.
I think he did. So I mean, you know, I was trying to remember, you know, if he did or not. But you know, they've had this core group together a little bit now, which is. it was sort of like us, but they with the core group they have, we got injured a little bit more than they did, but they've made a run the past few years and got into position to win. One in the World Series and then one they didn't quite make it last year. It's a hard thing to do, man. I mean, the expectations are high on these guys, we start talking about what our expectations are of them, what we think they can do. Well, what it comes down is the health. If they can stay healthy, and to me, it always comes down to pitching and defense. It's going to come down to that. If they pitch well, they're going to get an opportunity, but it's about getting hot at the right time because they got so much playoffs to go through. There's so many rounds.
Yeah, Tommy and Chris, we're getting near the end. Before we do, Chris has a question.
Okay.
And while he's asking Tommy and Chris, you guys, this question, Tom, would you please think about this week's Phillies Live Fearless Independence Blue Cross Player of the Week?
Oh, yeah, real quick. Just wondering about leadership in the clubhouse. Do you need a leadership in the pitching department and then a leadership in the everyday player department? I mean, do you kind of need two different guys to step forward, or is there a crossover on a baseball team that?
I get where you're coming from. I was lucky. Mine was the catcher. He knew how to handle the pitchers, and he saw us when we were right, and wrong, and sort of knew how we were made up a little bit. So he could vouch for some of the other stuff, as far as dealing with an everyday guy.
Yeah, I think it's tough to have a crossover unless it is the catcher-pitcher relationship. I'll go back and real quick, I know we're getting towards the end, but Jay Buhner, I'm a rookie, and I come up, and there's Norm Charlton there and Tim Belcher.
Oh, my God, Norm.
So Norm was
played with
awesome.
Norm.
That was my locker mate my first day in the big league, so you can imagine how that went. But
I played with him a few times.
We go out the circle in the Kingdome in Seattle, and Junior comes walking out, and he's got his hat on backwards, and he's got his pullover top on. He's like 3 or 4 minutes late to stretch, and we used to stretch in a big circle out in left field. And I remember Jay Buhner looking at him, and he said, "Get your you-know-what out here on time." And us, the guys, we're thinking it's a joke because it's Junior. Can't go for Junior, And Junior started laughing, and I remember looking and seeing Jay, and he's like, "No, get your you-know-what out here on time like everybody else." And for me, the first time, I'm like, wait, he's serious. Like Jay, Jay's serious.
Jay's awesome. I knew Jay.
Now you got to remember, they're really good friends.
Yeah.
Like at the time. So that on top of everything else, and I look at it and I say, you know what? I'm never going to be late. I know that, and Junior was never late either.
Yeah, I knew Jay, and he was that, and it's good to have that type of man. Like you got to have it, that respect.
He was the best I ever saw at it.
1 minute left, Tom.
Okay, you got it.
If you could tell us your choice of the Phillies Player of the Week.
All right, man, and to me, it's a little difficult when you got different guys doing it. It seems like every night we sort of talk about that, but I'm going to give a little bit of love to a guy that's filled in for one of our guys that's hurt, Sosa. He's our guy. He's my guy, Edmundo. How you say it, Edmundo?
Edmundo Sosa.
Yeah, that way. You see, you got an old North Carolina boy trying to pronounce that, and that don't come out right. But he had – I want to give him a little bit of love because he's filled in and done a great job for Turner, and picked the offense up. Last week he hit like over 320. Probably 338. The last 7 games I go by hit 348. Had a couple home runs, 5 ribbies, and 23 at bats, and played good defense, decent defense. And I want to give him some love. It seems like we go towards Harper and stuff like that all the time, but that unsung, he's one of the unsung guys that showed up and stepped in and next guy up type attitude. So.
Don't forget, next week, Larry Boa, Brandon Duckworth join me on the Bull Session. But how about tonight? Tommy Greene and Chris Widger. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Chris Ermer, our producer.
Phillies baseball on 1490 WBCB and 107.